question that we need to ask now, do we really solve the basic problem of healthcare and life science? Not really, because we just scratched the surface, right? Because we still need to understand what is antimicrobial resistance, right? Or what is the cancer? What is gene therapy? Stem cell research. These are all unsolved questions for us, right? And my strong belief is that we need a tool such as quantum computing to really go deep into the understanding of the biology, chemistry, and physics.
Welcome to Entangled Health, where we explore the intersections of quantum science, AI, biotechnology, and human well-being. My name is Thomas, and I'm convinced that health innovation happens at the entangled boundaries, where cutting-edge physics meets biology, where consciousness research intersects with technology, and where visionary thinking transforms into practical solutions. We are bringing together pioneers, researchers, and innovators who are reshaping how we understand and experience health. My guest today is Dr. Gopal Karemore, Global Quantum Lead for Healthcare and Life Sciences at IBM. We talk about his journey from computer science research and pioneering machine learning in pharma at Novo Nordisk to driving quantum innovation at IBM. Gopal shares how IBM's quantum strategy is shaping the future of drug discovery and digital health, where the real impact for patients may come first, and what it takes to bridge machine learning, clinical reality, and cutting-edge technology. We discussed the most promising near-term applications of quantum AI in pharma, how startups and large enterprises can collaborate on quantum health solutions, and we will learn how personal values drive innovation in such a fast-evolving field, and much more. A quick disclaimer, all chats at Entangled Health are a co-creation between the guest and myself, and not an official statement from our industries. We are here in a personal capacity, so everything we share is just our own take, not the official view of any company, nor of my employer or any other organization. To add a little bit of dopamine, you can submit questions to the Entangled Health questions pool, and later in the show we'll dive in and the quantum algorithm, running on real hardware, picks which question we answer. Our guests add their question to the pool and then answer it live. And if we reach 1 million listeners, we might change the rules. But that's a bit far out. Stay tuned, and who knows what the quantum dice will reveal. Yeah, welcome back everybody to the quantum computing flavored sessions. Welcome, Gopal.
Thank you, Thomas. Always pleasure to talk to you.
So can you just share what came to your mind when I reached out and what your definition or interpretation of Entangled Health is?
Now, first of all, thank you very much for inviting. And when I got an invitation for this podcast, this really resonates, the title that you says Entangled Health, right? Because for me, entanglement, that's basically coming from the quantum mechanics and so by the quantum computing, but really is about the correlation between these two words, right? Healthcare and entanglement, right? So if you really see healthcare is nothing but like understanding the biology, and the biology is driven by the principle of chemistry, right? And we know that the chemistry is governed by the principle of physics. And we know if we really want to understand the mechanistic understanding of medicinal chemistry, we have to really go deep into the subatomic level, right? That means the superposition, entanglement, interference, on the basis of which the quantum computing is based. So for me, I think this is really nice to really have a correlation between, if you really want to understand the healthcare to the deepest, to the corest level, I think the quantum computing is the answer, at least one of the two possible tools.
It's not scripted. Thanks, Gopal.
Yeah. And maybe if I can just elaborate more on this one, right? Because I had a thought really about this one, like what exactly should be the intention for this podcast, right? I really want the listener should just get an understanding about this, not the overhyped, right? Or hyped, or there's a lot of things are going on this one. But I really want that whenever you talk about the healthcare and life science, is something that the problem that our ancestor has been solving from decades, from ages, right?
Yes.
And regardless from where we come from, be it a traditional, Indian medicine, African medicine, North American medicine, Europe medicine, there has always been a challenges because all these methods were they did not have a blind test, right? Like a placebo-controlled, what we normally have, right?
Yeah.
It was all based on evidence, right? And there was no the primary focus was only on treating symptoms and not the cure, right? So, and then it took us a lot of time to understand what is the targeted therapy could look like
Hmm.
until the German scientist Paul Ehrlich came in 1936,
Oh
who
yes.
basically gave the concept of targeted therapies, right?
Yeah.
And this was the basically I would call the beginning of modern drug discovery, where we are applying tools to mechanically understand what disease is, how to treat diseases, right?
Hmm.
And of course, there has been a lot of development after that. The Human Genome Project, designing drugs on a computer, and recently, fast forward, we can just talk about large language model AI, predicting structures of proteins using Rosetta Fold, AlphaFold, whatever name you take it, right?
Hmm.
But the question that we need to ask now: do we really solve the basic problem of healthcare and life science?
Hmm.
Not really, because we just scratched the surface, right? Because we still need to understand what is a antimicrobial resistance, right? What is the cancer, what is gene therapy, stem cell research. These are all unsolved questions for us, right? And my strong belief is that we need a tool such as quantum computing to really go deep into the understanding of the biology, chemistry, and physics. So that's what I call the entangled health is a apt kind of a title for your podcast. I'm
Yeah.
very
This
happy to contribute.
this is cool. Yeah. And I mean, we could expand it, and this is why I have other guests also outside from different domains. Also, that the body is not only biochemistry but also soul. Yeah, and spirit and mental health, physical health, sports, nutrition, etc. But I'm happy to really go deep also on let's say your expertise, which is computer science. I got to know Gopal back then when he was not at IBM, but rather at another company on our side of healthcare. And then he switched over to what I sometimes call dark side, but it's just jokingly. So Gopal, can you just walk us through and our guests early your journey? You can start at school, kindergarten, whenever you want. But,
Oh yeah.
but
Happy to, happy to. I mean, so I was born in a small town called Tumsar, which is like away from 100 kilometers away from city like Nagpur. But I know that international crowd has no idea about these two. So just to give you a reference, it's a 400 kilometers away from Mumbai, which is a part of course, the financial capital of India. So actually, I was very average student while growing up, but I have always fascinated with physics and biology from the beginning, right? The fast forward, I did my bachelor's in electronics engineering. So when people talk about Josephson Junction, I get excited. So and of course, I did my master's in medical software from Manipal University. Then I got a scholarship, the first scholarship that basically gave me an opportunity to go outside India and explore what is happening outside was a Fraunhofer Institute in Germany.
okay.
And there I had a chance of working with a really smart scientist working on a chemical structure reconstruction project, which was from Fraunhofer Institute. So it was really nice. And then got a scholarship from there in Denmark, doing my PhD in computer science. It was an industrial PhD in collaboration with the University of Copenhagen and Nordic Bioscience. It's a Danish pharma company, where my title of my thesis was develop an imaging biomarker for breast cancer. Right,
Whoa.
and then just to tell you about the challenges, right? I mean, because normally those days it was everybody was developing CAD, computer aided drug discovery. Okay, I see tumor, I can find a delineation of tumor, but for me that was like very obvious application, right? And my thesis was very challenging with under Professor Mass Nilsson and Sami Brandt, was that given an image of a breast where the woman is coming from a screening, right, where there is no detection of any cancer, nothing, can you find or can you assess the risk of that woman developing breast cancer in 4 years from now or 2 years from now, based on computer vision and machine learning?
So you did.
So that was really
Did you
yeah.
computer vision then? In principle, what we're now trying to do better with quantum computers for digital pathology.
Yeah,
So,
yes,
okay.
yes, exactly.
Cool.
So my thesis was about developing biomedical imaging biomarkers,
Cool. Okay.
and then that led me to also went to UPenn, University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That was the first time I went to actually US. I had a really nice experience working with UPenn with Professor Desmina Contos, who is now leading in Columbia University as AI research. I also did my internship in Siemens Corporate Research, where I actually learned how machine learning becomes a product, right, in Princeton, in New Jersey. So it was really nice experience I had. Of course, then I had also chance to work with Mayo Clinic, Nijmegen universities and things like that. So that was really nice things. This was the part where I got a really nice hold of what is a clinical trial, what is the patient data, what are the challenges in a clinical trial development and stuff like that. And then, of course, after my PhD, I went to Spain which was again the really nice transition from Denmark to Spain. It was a National Center for Cardiovascular Research. But this is the place where I actually learned the preclinical side, like how people are, working with cell assays, what is the knockout, what is wild type, how the mice model and things like that. So it was a really nice experience after that. And the fast forward, then from Spain, I went to Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Protein Research and Stem Cell Biology. So this was a really nice position for me because I could then get a hold of what is happening in the protein engineering, at the same time what is happening in the stem cell biology. That means I got to entangle with the people who are developing really top-notch developmental biology research, and protein engineering and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in principle,
Which was,
you could,
by the way,
in principle, you could even then have designed the cells that produce the proteins, or
exactly, and that's the whole idea. This is exactly our perspective paper that we published, that how quantum can be helpful for optimizing the motifs in the T cells, for example, and antigen receptor therapies. So I think so. This was really interesting for me, and now I look back, connecting dots. So this was really gave me a journey where I could now communicate with, people from preclinical side to CMC to the clinical trial, and I always correlate everything with the quantum computing. What is the possibility of quantum computing that could be solved for the problems, the challenge that these guys are having? So so that was my experience actually. And then the final, like the job that you referred to of the pharma company, I was a director for a department called Emerging Technologies and external partnership, where I was focusing on quantum computing. That was the first time I was actually exposed to quantum technologies. Being in Denmark, of course, near to Niels Bohr Institute, a lot of professors. So it was really fortunate for me to understand and learn. I still remember my first interaction with the quantum system was when I visited a Copenhagen lab from Microsoft, right? Where I really see what is happening there. And of course, the IBM workshops and stuff. So it was really fascinating place that I really learned, and I'm really thankful for Denmark and its quantum ecosystem.
This is a fantastic system, and I mean, we are just jumping off from the Quantum Tech conference, and there was Morten Bache. So I hope to get him also maybe later on the show for the Novo Foundation, because it's quite fascinating how the Nordic countries are.
Definitely. I mean, I just want to mention, like, as you mentioned, Morten Bache, Lena Oreshel, Peter Kostov, and they are the one who actually motivated me, right? Like, okay, what is quantum computing? And Peter, I still remember, he basically showed me in Niels Bohr Institute, right? And Morten was always nice to talk to him, like what the Danish initiatives in quantum computing, quantum information science, quantum sensing. So it was very, very helpful for me.
Small
to really
circles,
connect the dots.
Small circles,
exactly.
And then I mean, I just recall the time. Maybe we can chat a bit of this. But when I was sitting on my computer, then there came an email from Gopal Karemore. I got this invitation to write a book chapter. You want to talk a bit on that?
That's really true. And it was really, I'm happy with this engagement that we had when I was in Novo Nordisk. We had a chance to write a chapter, a whole chapter on quantum computing for Wiley publication, which was, I think, really nice kind of exposure to the community, like what is happening in this emerging technologies and why people should be exploring this particular tool in drug discovery and development.
Yeah. So I think for the listeners who are keen to read it, I will later put just a link in the comments. And Gopal, tell me, so this is quite impressive, and now I understood how it makes sense also in your new role, leading the quantum initiatives at IBM, and talking about your new role. I imagine there are quite some also wide definitions. So what healthcare and life science, I understood, is together. And do you want to tell us a bit what this means, or what you are doing all day?
Right. So my title is I'm a global lead for quantum computing in healthcare and life science, based in Yorktown Heights in New York, which is basically a ground zero for quantum computing research, and it has been there from the century, right? So I'm very proud and very feel fortunate that I can go and interact with many big scientists, right, which you normally see on a YouTube and things. So I joined IBM like almost 1 year ago as a global quantum lead, and my role is to provide a consultancy on the C-suites executives, right? Developing the advisory, basically developing the artifact for on the C-suite executives, right? But also I have a dual role, right, to interact with the pharma community, right, understand their problem and formulate their problem into the quantum computing, so that I can also then interact with our development team, our delivery team, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was really a nice job. I'm enjoying, and of course it's challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, because you really need to understand the two kind of two hats on your head, right? Because you need to be very well updated with what is happening in the pharma domain, what are the challenges, right, in drug discovery and development, from target discovery to molecular design to clinical trial. At the same time, you have to also, in order to speak with your quantum scientists from IBM, right?
Yeah.
So they don't speak that language, so of course you need to also understand their language. That means what is Shor's algorithm, what is complexity, what is the qubits, what is gates, and stuff like that. So I really enjoy my job here. It's a challenging, but I enjoy this.
Yeah, and I think it's a fascinating thing, and I'm not getting tired to say that when I was a very young kid, I was also a bit crazy and wanted to change the world. Well, I still want to, but then I reached out, and there was the magazines where you had the IBM not quantum, but IBM computers and RIKEN, and I just asked IBM. Oh, I'm so fascinated. I think 8 years old or so, and they sent me the full booklet. I mean, it was really a meter of books. And I was so fascinated. It's always my dream to go there. And finally, of course, I had the chance to be in RIKEN and touch the 5-qubit machine. I mean, it didn't break it, but I did touch it and play with the Qiskit stuff. So early in the beginning when it was still Quantum. So I think it's really amazing what the development. I think all of us also on the other side are quite surprised what's going. So there are big leaps in the quantum technology, and we're quite advanced. And we have a lot of different approaches to solve, let's say, computational problems, being classical computer, quantum computers. Do you have any idea, or can you share what you are consulting, maybe internally, or also the guys like me on the other side? What would make sense, where quantum computing could really add value? Because we want to believe, but sometimes it's quite tough.
Right. Exactly. No, totally. So for that reason, I mean, we conducted a webinar which is available, and just for the listeners who really want to know, deep dive into what is the possibility of each and every functional areas of drug discovery and development. Because I strongly believe when you say healthcare and life science is related to understanding disease mechanism, where the healthcare is related to the patient data. So the bridge between this healthcare and life science is a pharma company, right? Because this is where exactly the translational science happens, translational medicine happens, right?
Okay.
From that's what they call bench to bedside, right? You may be having a really nice basic research and all, but unless you put it into the practice, like put it into the FDA regulation, become that as a drug available to the patient, it's not helpful, right? So I think for me, this is very important. So if you really see the functional area, there's a webinar which is available. I would very happy to give you the
we put
YouTube
it in.
link.
Yeah,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
Thanks.
But then just to give you the brief idea about what are the potential application domain within healthcare and life sciences, first, let's start with the drug discovery development pipeline. That means target discovery, right? So right now, the way we solve the target discovery problem is by understanding the basic biology, the mechanism, like the system pharmacology, systems biology problem, and basically we generate lots of networks, right? The understanding the knowledge graph, for example. The traversing over this knowledge graph, or let's say in a technical term, if the graph data structure, we are still using the heuristic approaches, right? There's no deterministic approach of how do I then traverse over this particular node, start from this particular node and reach to the destination. And because of that, we are not generating the novel hypothesis or information-rich hypothesis based on the data that we've collected, be it from multi-omics level, right? So the proposal also in the community is that algorithm like quantum walk, could it be helpful for developing or coming up with a hypothesis which is completely novel and completely efficient as compared to the classical
and just to because I think I have a rough understanding of quantum, what the thing is, but in lay terms, could you just say what quantum, what the difference is between normal walk and random and quantum?
Right. So everything boils down to these three basic principles on the basis of which the quantum computing is best, right? And the superposition, entanglement, and interference, right? So superposition, as many of your audience are aware, that it's basically a superposition. It basically gives massive parallelism, right? In the computation term. Entanglement is massive correlation, the correlation that you cannot find in the regular classical covariance metrics or correlation metrics, right? That's why that's what the multi-referential methods and all. I will come to the quantum chemistry side. But what quantum walk does is it basically does the solution, and then again the third part that is very important, right? That's interference. That means that how do you reach to the solution path, right? The solution so you start with the Hamiltonian problem, but because of this constructive interference and the destructive interference, you basically reach to this steady state solution, right? So quantum walk utilizes all these principles, right? And so, for example, it can walk over multiple nodes at the same time. And that's like in a layman's language for the people to understand, right? Instead of crossing each and every path. For example, traveling salesman problem, right? Like you basically spend your ages, right, to try each and every permutation combination, while the algorithms we can actually solve that problem. So that's the whole idea in a very layman's language.
Most of the quantum computing companies have very good educational material, so I really urge the listeners to check also those from IBM out, because there are these nice visualizations. I think I recall the one where you just see a typical maze, and then one dot starts, and then you see the classical approach with the error, trial and error, you go back and forth. And the other one is really just filling everything and then eliminating the non-solutions. Right?
Exactly. But just to continue, I mean, this is like one part of like a drug discovery and development, like target discovery. But what we see and what we have realized that the important challenge, or let's say main challenge of drug discovery and development community is about how to design a molecule in a better way, right? Because designing a molecule from the molecular formats, which is starting from, let's say, small molecule, which is very like a small molecular weight, right? I'm talking from the molecular weight perspective. The small molecule, antibody, short peptide, cyclic peptides, oligonucleotides, these are all the fascinating nuclear formats or molecular formats that a pharma company is now investing, right? Because all low-hanging fruits are gone. Like, okay, we can't really develop a small molecule that can go, permeable through the cell membrane. So we have to really start innovating, like RNA therapy, for example. People are talking about oligonucleotides, but you can't really go to the laboratory, try each and every permutation, go to the laboratory, synthesize the molecule, come back, test, really see what is the biophysical, pharmacokinetics properties, right? Or pharmacodynamics properties. So we rely upon simulation, right? And we have been using simulation tools from ever since we started drug discovery, like computational drug discovery, right? The challenge of simulation right now, the tools that we have, is about the accuracy. Okay. So, but that doesn't mean that in every time you really need an accuracy to the level of Schrodinger equation, solving really an orbital level of interaction between the drug and target interaction. But in some cases, you really need that, because in order to assure that your molecule is binding to the right protein and not the off-target affinity that it should have. So to have this design cycle into consideration as a simulation, you have to rely upon the high accuracy. Okay. And now, if you see what is available right now is like, okay, we can go for force field, we can go for semi-empirical methods, we can at most go to the accuracy of DFT. DFT is like a best possible kind of accuracy that we can reach to right now with the tools that we have. But that is not enough, because we're not really solving the Schrodinger equation, like a full configuration interaction, multi-referential system. And this boils down to the problem where a pharma company who are focusing on, let's say, transition metal ion based therapy, like for example, iron sulfur cluster based whenever there is a heavy metal involved, a transition metal, what happens with this such kind of a system is that their d orbital is semi-filled with electron, right? And sp is okay to deal with, but when it goes to d and f orbital, it's a really complex orbital for electron to stay. And of course, because of that, the energy level are so quiet and similar that they have a multi-referential kind of perspective, and that you really need to solve that one, because you can't really consider one individual electron as an independent one. So because of that, the whole boils down to an Hamiltonian. That Hamiltonian is so complex, and it is non-sparse, because every parameters or every electron is
Important,
interacting with
yes.
every other electron. Exactly.
Yeah.
To solve this problem using classical computer, and we have actually shown using our recent paper, the publication that we had with RIKEN, it's a Japanese research organization, that the method like sample-based quantum diagonalization, how these methods in conjunction with classical computer supercomputer can help solve the problem in 2 hours, which would otherwise take years to really
Yes.
solve
Yeah.
only on the
Yeah.
quantum computer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think this is also very fascinating from the drug discovery side, the molecular discovery. Then coming to the clinical trial, of course, we have published some papers on how one can use an optimization, quantum optimization algorithm to design a clinical trial strategy. You really want to, because clinical trial is also one of the really challenging
Yes,
terminology
I
of field, right?
yes, I know.
Because
We know.
people exactly. I mean, you know, as a pharma company, right? Because 90% of the attrition rate, and that's really really bad, right? Because so only 10% of the molecule that goes into the market, right?
Yeah.
So how to reduce the how to increase the technical probability of success in clinical trial. And I know that I don't want to claim that we can really control the clinical trial, because we should not be controlling clinical. That's why they're called placebo double blind placebo controlled trial. But apart from efficacy and the safety feature, which is very important, for which we have double blind clinical control trial, there is also some factors which defines the success of clinical trial. That means what kind of patients are recruiting for the cohort, right? And on the basis of what? And that's why we're talking about the personalized medicine. So I strongly believe that the methods like the quantum control based, quantum computing based optimization algorithm like QAOA or VQE could be a solution for designing the next generation clinical trials based on the variables, where all the binary variables and discrete variables we can think of. So that's like a overall application domain I can think of whenever I talk to a drug discovery and development, whenever I talk to
Maybe others, yeah.
pharma companies, because they either or other way they have this problem. Is it a preclinical problem? Is it a clinical problem? And then of course we provide our consultancy and we are very honest, right? Because we also have to think about there's also hype outside, right? About what can be done on quantum computer, right? But I think we are very honest from the beginning that we have divided into 4 different application domain as far as the quantum computing is concerned. One application domain is called Hamiltonian simulation, right? Another one is quantum optimization, which I just mentioned, right? The third one, which is a long term, is quantum machine learning, and the fourth one is the PDE, the partial differential equation.
Okay, for simulation
right?
stuff.
Because if you really see the any engineering discipline, they all some or the other way uses PDEs or quantum machine learning or machine learning or Hamiltonian simulation. And then, as I just explained, Hamiltonian simulation is a very kind of a this is like Ising model type of Hamiltonian. If you have a problem which can be defined as an Hamiltonian, and just for the general public, I know that you're a physicist, you understand the Hamiltonian, but for general for the layman's, it's basically kind of energy of a system. And you can think of energy as energy of like a sum of all the edges in the graph, for example, that you want to minimize, right? Or finding the ground state energy of a fermionic Hamiltonian, right? In all this aspect, the quantum is a natural solution. And why do I say so? Because, as I said before, that if you have a very huge covariance matrix and it is non-sparse, finding eigenvalues and eigenvectors are it's ill posed problem in classical domain, right? Because you really can't inverse that huge Hamiltonian, right? So the way we have solved this problem, and this is exactly what is happening in the sample-based quantum diagonalization kind of method that I just mentioned before, that we are very positive, and then we have got a really nice result on iron sulfur cluster, is that you basically sample the conformation using quantum computing. So you only sample the conformations which are very relevant for eigenvalues and eigenvectors to be computed for the classical computer. See, so you're not sampling the entire space, which you normally do, right? But it's basically you use a quantum sampler as a preemptive process, and then later on you basically solve the eigenvalues, eigenvectors by classical supercomputer, right? So this is also very fascinating things.
This is cool. I mean, thanks for sharing that, Gopal. And I think this brings us to the struggles in real life, because I can imagine that certain type of people who want to believe but have seen a lot of things failing have very good ideas why it's so super complicated. So and I'm just thinking, for example, when you were talking about the high precision calculations, what I often hear when I try to convince that quantum computing is an additional value added method, I often get back, yeah, but why do I need these precision calculations if I just have
Right.
unclear atomic positions and they are only for 0 Kelvin and life is more than 0 Kelvin, etc. Do you have an idea how you answer this?
Yeah, so definitely, as I said in my answering your question about,
Yeah.
it depends on what is the need, right, for a
Yeah.
pharma company.
Mm.
If a pharma company is developing just a regular small molecule, which you know the very mechanism about, let's say GLP-1
Yes, that's yeah.
targeting, right, like
Yeah.
agonist, for example, then you don't need that kind of accuracy
Yes,
because
that's
you have
true.
you have lots of biophysical data,
Yeah. Yeah.
physiochemical data. You don't really don't need like docking is okay, just a docking, normal docking is okay, right? But this is actually a really nice segue to tell you about what we are doing with our enterprise client, right? And this is very important. Again, there's a disclaimer. It's all explorative, right? It's
Yes.
just a
Yeah.
if those who really want to explore from these from the beginning about how quantum can be helpful for their value chain, it's only for those, right? I mean, of course, we are not selling like we're not hyping it, right? But just to give an example, what we are working with Cleveland Clinic, Moderna, for example, and that's really a kind of a nice answer to your question. Is for example, Cleveland Clinic, we have a 10-year partnership with them, right? So we're going to explore. I think this is the biggest. This is a in the world, this is the first quantum computer ever dedicated for biomedical research.
Yeah.
We're happy for this partnership. So we are exploring different angles in the drug discovery and development. But just one example that I want to give you is about the protein folding problem, right? So I always get this question, okay, didn't we solve this problem like
With
2 years ago
AlphaFold.
when we got a Nobel Prize like in chemistry? And I'm really happy with that. Like, and this is what we really need, because when I was working for protein CPR, Center for Protein Research, I know people spend like months to collect the data for structured data, like with cryo EM or crystallography and all. But AlphaFold and the Rosetta Fold or Simple Fold, these are all the software which people uses right normally now. But there is a catch here. If you have a single point mutation in your protein, right? The software which is based on data, they cannot capture this one, right?
Yes.
They cannot to tell you where exactly the single point mutation of amino acid is happening, and because of that the structure is changing, right? For example, if you really want to understand the intrinsically disordered protein, which is very kind of a very interesting topic for pharma companies, because not necessarily that the receptor binding domain is the only place where drug interacts. uh, Drug might interact in any other places, and even without docking, the protein might change the structure
Yeah, just because it takes
completely
place.
different.
Yes,
It's-
yeah,
we call this an allosteric effect in pharma, right? And people who can hear, who can listen, they know what is the allosteric effect. This is an unsolved problem in the drug discovery, right? So to understand such phenomena, we really need a tool to go to the mechanistic level. That means the automatic in the atom level, right? Like interaction, electron-electron interaction, for example. Or if you're like, let's say, if you're working on a drug which has a heavy metal, or let's say transition metal, right? Let's say iron, copper, manganese, for example. Then we know that these, as I said before, these are very this is a nightmare for a quantum chemist, or let's say theoretical chemist, to really come up and understand, because
Yeah.
it's a D shell is incomplete, right? And that's why it is basically very unstable molecule, and it's a multi-referential system, right? So in such cases, you really need tools like quantum computing. So we're not selling to each and every one. Like, I'm not saying, oh, you just replace the large language model or foundational model and just use
Yes, with a quantum
we are
computer.
not there yet, right? So I think all these tools are very nice. They're really good, and they're solving the purpose. But quantum is for problems which is beyond the capacity of a classical computer, right?
Yeah,
And this is actually, for the listeners, also nice to know that this is what we have done in 2023 when we demonstrated in collaboration with UC Berkeley, our utility experiment, right? This was a time where we have showed that the quantum computer can do work which is beyond the brute force classical simulation, right? And all other partners like Algorithmic, I can mention here, they have taken this approach and they have applied it on quantum chemistry. And they have showed, oh, through error mitigation, look what we can do right now. when I always get this question, okay, don't we have to wait for 2029 because
Yes.
you still have like a error-prone devices or quantum computers, even though there are more than 100 qubits. No, but with error mitigation, you can actually do a lot of things, and this is what we have shown. And this is just the one example that I've given you with algorithmic. There are many other partners who are actually exploring. We have actually 300 plus quantum computing network
Yeah,
partners
yeah,
and
yeah.
startups who are actually utilizing our machines. So.
Yeah, congratulations. It's really cool. And I'd just like to shift gear a bit because I see that you just cannot do it without personal values or purpose. And I think so.
Right.
I always have you put in my box of a very curious and brave and,
Thank you.
and
Thank
not
you.
shy person. So can you just go a bit on the importance of personal values and also maybe, I mean, you're
Right.
also a parent and mentorship, etc. So touching these points more.
No, definitely. I mean, for me, the purpose is exactly what drives what are the very values, right? Because if you don't have a purpose, then value could be really nice, but okay, what's the point? And of course, if you have a really nice purpose, then values automatically align or entangled with the purpose, right?
Okay.
So I think for me, it has been always really to contribute to the society from the because when I did my engineering, which was an electronics engineer, I was really reading the physiology and the biology and anatomy kind of work. So I always wanted to work with this interaction or the intersection between the technology and the healthcare, right? So that really is my purpose. That if I can be a player to kind of stimulate this whole ecosystem of what are the current challenge that the healthcare and life science community has through this innovative tool, which is a quantum computing tool, right? And I'm very fortunate that I always get inspired and very proud to be part of IBM quantum research because all scientists here are driven by science. I mean, all they are there, they have purpose, right? Because they really want to solve the challenging problems. So whenever I interact with them, listening to from the clients, they have this problem. They are always excited about, okay, where can we apply quantum computing algorithm, the present algorithms to solve that particular problem. So I think that really drives the purpose of my life so far, and hopefully it will be in the future.
Sure. Why should it change? And I have always the idea to ask regarding mentorship. So
Right.
I think you're also working with younger people just to share expertise or be the older brother or whatever. Are you doing this at the moment, or is there something what IBM is doing, or how does this work?
Yeah, so IBM, I mean, the Qiskit community, right?
Yes.
It's an
Yeah,
open
yeah,
source
yeah. I'm
platform, and I
part of
think
it.
we are very proud that we are driving, and it's a most popular
Yes.
SDK in
Yeah,
quantum
yeah.
computing, and we are happy that people are contributing. Also, they're getting help. So this is so it's an open source platform for those who do not know. It's a Qiskit, it's a quantum information science toolkit
Yeah.
where actually you can develop an algorithm, and we have given lots of abstraction level, right? Because we know that people, not everybody is quantum savvy, right?
Yes.
People do
Yeah.
not know about what is quantum computing, quantum mechanics. So we have given a lot of abstraction on the Python level. So actually, if you know Python, you can actually use a quantum computer. You can interact with a quantum computer. You can develop a small quantum routine, for example. You can actually get a hands-on on what is happening in the Bell state. You can create a Hadamard like a C-Nord gate and stuff like that, right? But also for those who are very inquisitive about what is the error rate, like what is error mitigation, what can I do with the error, error correction, stuff like that. So we have also given the APIs like C APIs, we have given the Rust APIs so that you can actually interact with the microwave pulses. You can really interact with the hardware, right?
This is, by the way,
And
one of
by
these
yeah.
challenges I hated during the Explorer exercises.
Okay.
Just kidding. Yeah, go.
But that's how it is, and I'm
Yeah.
very happy that PP, and we also organize a summit, right? We also organize lots of summer school for students to really be a part of that. They can apply for internship in IBM Quantum Research here. So all these initiatives are very important for ecosystem and also for the general public to understand about the quantum computing and its implications in healthcare and life science, and also other application areas, because healthcare and life science is not the only one. I mean,
Yes.
all my counterparts are working on equally well for other industry sectors.
Yeah. Before I jump to the next thing there, because I'm really keen to see how you deal with future tech impact, and specifically as a technology company, not only doing quantum. But one quick follow up on this mentor thing, putting yourselves now back 25 years younger.
Okay, wow.
Is there something you would do different, or
Yeah.
something you're older, what you know now, would you advise to either just
I would,
continue doing or doing completely different?
yeah, I would say always stay curious, right? I
Okay.
mean, whenever I see even my kids, right, the attention span is very limited, right, because of all the
Yeah.
apps and all these
Yes.
things going on. But I strongly believe that I think you have to be persistent, right? You have to be very focused towards what you really want. And this, if somebody comes to me and say, okay, what should I do to be successful in such a dynamic technology? I would say stay focused, pick up some technology. I mean, for example, let's say quantum computing explorer, right? We have lots of tools available. I mean, Qiskit is something which is available, right? I mean, you just install it, you can have it available online from Chrome, Python, you know very well, right? And more important is that if I tell people, please, there are lots of resources available free on internet, right? I just want to highlight here, we have really nice lecture series from Olivia Lenz, for example,
Yeah,
from
they're
IBM
really good.
Research, you know. So if you really want to understand where exactly is what is quantum mechanics, what is the history of quantum mechanics, what is the history of the quantum computing science, she will explain you very well. So I mean, when I was growing up, I had to go to the library, really go to the book, really understand and read and all this thing. So I think, and also there's a lot of resources available. I mean, a lot of YouTube videos are there and everything. So I think this is really nice.
And I just want
this is what I would recommend.
And I think it's really cool to just say play. And this brings me to the guy James Wooten, I guess you also know, who did play to the fullest extent and now is doing just other stuff in the creativity industry. And I think that's really very good advice, just to start playing. Yeah.
Right. And just for the people who are inquisitive, or the youngsters, right? Because they always goes by LinkedIn and all this thing, like a celebrate their victory. I mean, we have a certification. So if you complete your course, you get a certification from IBM Quantum, and that's really nice. It's a kind of a pleasure for people to have. Yeah.
I'm proud to
So I
share
think,
these. I'm proud to share
yes,
mine.
exactly. Yeah, that's good, right?
Black badge. Shifting gears again a bit. Future tech impact. So I think you've seen a lot from both perspectives, and I think we also have seen, and you mentioned the interface between different domains. Let's just say quantum computing and AI and drug discovery and healthcare, and everything is running so fast that we sometimes maybe lose a bit track, or there are emerging synergies or emergent properties we just would not have thought of. Do you want to dare a bit of a, let's say, at least 5 or 10 years in the future outlook, how technology could support and what we maybe should not do?
Right. And this is a really nice segue where I really want to share the vision of quantum computing. I mean, we strongly believe that the future is going to be quantum-centric supercomputing. And if you see the IBM perspective, that when we get this question about, okay, is quantum going to replace classical computer? No, never,
No, it
right? I
won't,
mean,
yeah.
at least not now.
Yeah.
So, but quantum would be one of the member of the high performance computing framework wherever you go in future, right? That's what we call as a quantum centric supercomputing, where quantum computers will work in tandem with your supercomputer or GPUs or whatever you talk about, the AI based machines, right? To uplift the performance of classical computer. Because for me, the user feedback or user interface is always going to be classical, right? I mean, you're not going to see the genomics on a quantum computer. You're always going to see on a laptop, on a classical computer, right?
Yeah.
If you really want to align the sequences and all stuff like that. So, but in the background, you can be having a jobs running on a quantum computer. It could be from FPGA, it could be from GPUs, it could be anything. So I would strongly say that as quantum centric supercomputing is very, very fascinating for me, and this is actually the IBM's kind of a vision, and I'm very happy that we are working towards that. Just to tell you what we have done so far, it's not something that's an idea; it is actually happening right now. Just to tell you, not 100 miles away from where I'm sitting now, it's Rensselaer Pottinger Institute, RPI.
Yeah.
This is a really a premier research organization and university. So we installed a quantum computer which is actually communicating with the classical computer, supercomputer, right? And we are doing a lot of fascinating experimentation on that. That's one example. Second example is with RIKEN, where the quantum computer is actually sitting besides the supercomputer, Fugaku, which is the seventh largest supercomputer.
Yeah.
And if you ask me what exactly we're doing, we have done some experimentation such as iron supercluster simulation using sample-based quantum diagonalization. So this is something is happening right now. You see, this is like just a start
Yeah,
of this
yeah.
one. So if you really see our roadmap, which I did not have a time to talk about, but it's available in the public domain.
Yes, it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you really see what is happening in next couple of years, by 2029 we're going to have a logical qubits, like 200 logical qubits, and the millions of gates. So you
Yeah.
can just imagine what is the possibility, right? How complex and complicated algorithm you can actually put it in the unitary operation on this two qubit gate operation, right? And with a logical qubit, like like a large scale fault tolerant quantum computer. So it's just the beginning, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
so for me, it is for people to understand that if they really want to prepare for the future, and this is I'm talking about the next generation, like all this Gen Zs, right? They should really explore right now, and that's available. Of course, 10 minutes is free, right? I mean, they can always subscribe for 10 minutes for IBM access. But later on, there are so many other engagement partnership that we have, and I would be very happy to
I
talk.
recall you even have for very promising projects. There is this idea of collaboration. So maybe we can talk later a bit of the collaborations models, because one thing I want to check with you, because I guess you know me, but the challenge we have currently in formulating our problems so that we can really make use of these quantum features, so superposition, etc. So I mean, we have a few minutes ago you mentioned the quantum random walk, which definitely makes sense. Then we have these usual suspects like Shor algorithm or what have you, where
Right.
very specific algorithms. But do you see that we need to help mankind or everyone to formulate eventually even health problems in a kind that it's naturally fitting to be crying for a quantum solution? Because I have a bit the feeling that still we try to do digital computing, but just with a quantum computer and using quantum on top. So,
Right.
but or eventually generating sensor data, quantum sensor, or real quantum data out of the person. I would not sure.
Right.
I would not know how to do that because after measurement, you always have classical data. But any ideas, or am I just crazy?
No, definitely. And I also completely agree. I think the biggest problem or the challenge that we have is these I/O operations, right? I mean, okay, it's really nice that you have a parameterized circuit, right, or the VQE approach, but this the time it takes to convert or encode that data from classical to quantum, it's a big process, right? And this is very cumbersome some time. But as you mentioned just before, is about the feature mapping, right? So let me talk a little bit about also, and now I'm scratching the surface of quantum machine learning side. Okay, even though it is our long-term vision, but and we publish papers in both the supervised machine learning, quantum machine learning, unsupervised quantum machine learning, like quantum sampling. What is this quantum Boltzmann sampling would look like? How it would generate like a QGAN and stuff like that. Okay, but as you can see, the IBM strongly believes in proofs, right? I mean, that's how. I mean, whenever I interact with the scientists, that's also they're driven by science, right? So far we did not have a evidence which would tell, okay, for this particular case, quantum machine learning would always perform better as compared to the classical quantum part. Okay, so but I would say that there are two things in both classification and regression. One is your aim is to find your accuracy better as compared to the classical counterpart, or second one is that can you represent your data in a very efficient manner before you even feed it to the classical algorithm. It could be supervised or unsupervised, right?
Yeah, you mean,
And this
so
is
mean
exactly
quantum
like a quantum feature
preprocess?
mapping.
So is
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
Like quantum feature mapping. You see, and this is where I think I strongly believe, and then maybe I just want to highlight here that we recently presented a result with HSBC. This is actually the 37% or 33% improvement in the bond prediction rate. And this is exactly what we've done. What we have done is we have basically feature mapped. We basically encoded our data, the classical data, into the quantum feature map. And we have shown that even if you use a classical routine, which is, by the way, we can't change and we can't touch because of the regulatory authorities and stuff like that, both in the financial, same like this FDA, right? So without changing the classical part, if you just represent data in different way, there is a benefit there. However, we are saying that we don't know how it is working. We also tried and tested against the
Yes.
classical noise that you can generate, like the pseudo noise. But even the quantum was performing better, right? So here is the case where I would say that we have some preliminary result, but it is not. It is still, it is an active area of
Yeah,
research,
and I
both
think
for theories and.
and this is a very good point, because I think you recall the idea that finally we did without you because you stepped to this other company. Just for our listeners, we had tried to understand what quantum reservoir computing is, and in the end, it's also using quantum technology to encode your data and just encode it in a different way. And also we see that for few data, it's performing better than for less bad than classical machine learning. And I think this is really super cool also, that we just walk different paths, but everybody's somehow coming to this, oops, there seems to be something that works better, but we just don't know how and why.
Right.
And I think this is really super, super important also. And I think that's coming back to the curiosity that you mentioned earlier as just
Exactly.
your drive.
But that's why we see lots of interest from the university academia, because this is the place where people explore new technologies, right? Without expecting much of the result, right? But at the same time, those industries who are like a long vision, do they have a long vision, right? They also explore such tools and quantum computing. This is where exactly we are very happy to engage with our enterprise client. They come to us with a really fascinating kind of a problem or the challenge they have in the value chain, and we try to formulate the problem onto the quantum computer.
Yeah, and I think we touched pressing problems. In principle, everything that makes sense could be addressed. just we don't know how. And but what I'm still want to learn, or I think it's always interesting also for the listeners, is innovation strategy. So I mean, do you have, you personally, so how do you cope with it? Because I'm honestly currently a bit overwhelmed with all the publications and the AI slop generated on top of it. And then writing your AI machine, it's reading the papers for you and writing summaries, and it doesn't really satisfy myself, so because I didn't read it myself. Do you have any personal strategies you might want to share that work or that don't work?
I would suggest just go to ibmquantum.com or ibm.com/quantum, and learn, look like Qiskit, the videos, which is available. Sometimes it's free, sometimes you have to pay, for example. Just to give you, like, if you really want a Qiskit developer certification, it costs $200 US dollar, but that's like a worth, right? If you really want to looking for a job in the quantum ecosystem, this certification is really important.
Yes.
And this has been evaluated by by the people who are expert in this particular domain, right? But there are so many free videos which you can also have a look at, right, to understand what is happening. And as I said before, also the summer school, the having a like a university tech summit, right? And the quantum is almost everywhere these days, right? There was a time when people say it's overhyped and all, but if you just go look at any almost all the developed nation, they have started having their quantum strategy. So it's not a dream anymore. It's basically, the question is, okay, when you're going to realize it for a practical application to really industry prone problem, that could be debatable, and that goes by from problem to problem. And this is exactly what our department is like. We help then for those who cannot understand how to get help from quantum computing for their problem. This is where exactly our department comes, where we then say, okay, if you really want to solve your problem, let us have some engagement. And I just want to tell you about the engagement. We have a quantum accelerator engagement, where a industry like pharma industry can actually engage with us. We can give them the whole consultancy, the whole one use case. We will execute with them, their team, for 1 year, right? Of course, there is a fee behind it, but we also have some smaller engagement, like a quantum for enterprise, just to educate the whole enterprise about what is the implication of quantum computing for their value chain. So we have so many engagement kind of a platform, but I would be very happy to give you the links later on.
Yeah, just
but
we posted, and
right.
people can.
But just to give you also the idea about some innovation, like, because some incubation people, or let's say some startups ecosystem. So we also have a very nice program, and then the startup ecosystem building, right?
Yes.
We also have a working group within the different industry sector. Like, for example, healthcare life science, we have working group. So if you are a university, if you are a startup, and if you're willing to contribute enough, you can be a part of this working group. So you'll be called for the workshop. You can actually get, and this is actually very kind of a no string attached to that way.
Yeah. And I think we definitely will share, or at least point to also how outreach programs work and how startups and universities, etc., can work with you guys, because I think IBM is long enough in the game to know what's at stake. And like everyone, I think everybody has good approaches. And what I understood between the lines, Gopal, is that your personal innovation strategy is in principle focusing on one thing and then just bite and don't let go. Is this right?
Well, I mean, that's a sales strategy. I don't know about the sales strategy, but I think for the quantum, I'm strong. I mean, if you see our roadmap, I strongly believe that, and if you see our innovation roadmap, by the way, there is two roadmaps. Like, one is a development commercial roadmap, and one other is an innovation roadmap. And we are very upfront and transparent to the public, right? That this is what it is, right? I mean, we have a plan for this year, which we demonstrated that there's a quantum centric supercomputing can be possible. The next year we're going to demonstrate quantum advantage. This is very exciting for the people, right? Next year onwards, like 2027, we're going to demonstrate viable path to error corrected quantum computer. In 2028, we're going to demonstrate the first error corrected quantum computer, right? And in 2029, we're going to demonstrate this is a logical qubit, the 200 logical qubit. Can you imagine? And it's the millions of billions of qubits, the two gate operation that you can have. And later on in 2033 onwards, with the Blue Jay, is going to be 2000 logical qubits. So you, as a scientist within this field, can you imagine the implication of this one? I'm talking about 2 to the power 200 or 2000, the quantum Hilbert space you can think of.
And I think it's really good to educate also then the other side who wants to use these to formulate the problems, because I mean, it always is the question, if now somebody comes and says, here's the API and a key for the full access, fully error corrected, 200,000 billion logical error corrected qubits. Here you go. I would not know what program to run.
No, and just one thing that if I may then add to this particular part, because I just spoke about the hardware innovation, right? Like how we are going to increase it. But there is something also we also expect from the community, right? The community, like the healthcare life science, that the advantage or innovation in the quantum will not come from IBM, because IBM is not a pharma company. IBM will never be a pharma company, right? So we really need a partner, strong partner, who comes with a problem, so that we from a technology side can solve that problem, which will ultimately help the humanity, right? And this is exactly where we need also development of quantum algorithms. And this is our team from Sarah Sheldon and others are really working hard to develop a next innovation in the quantum algorithm. Can we go beyond VQE? Can we go beyond QAOA? Right? Can we go something to explore? Exactly. So this is a very required, and also for the community side, right? And we have 25, in fact, startups who actually be a part of are a part of our quantum ecosystem, who are contributing from their side. Just to give you one idea, that let's say if there's a pharma company who may not want to join us, like they want to be part of the QA or whatever the partnership that I said. But if they just want to explore the quantum chemistry side, then we have given a Qiskit function. So they can just pay to the third party, which is algorithmic, for example, and they can actually do their quantum chemistry on Qiskit, and they can utilize the quantum IBM quantum hardware. So we have this all kind of a abstraction level and engagement level that we have.
Yeah, and this is, I think, also worth mentioning then on the Qiskit side. So Qiskit, for those not in quantum computing, so Qiskit is one of the languages, maybe one of the most spoken quantum computing languages, which is really exploding as we speak. So every time there are new features, and there are also startups, as you mentioned, provide functions, and I think it's really interesting just to check it out. Yeah. And I'm just looking at the time, so we're closely to an hour, Gopal. Time flies quick. And what I have mentioned in the beginning also, entanglement also means to entangle with our listeners. And this means every listener in principle has the chance to submit a question. Some do. There's always room for more, but some do. And then there comes this moment where I play the jingle. So you will hear the jingle, and then I press Shift Enter on my notebook, and it's running
Okay.
normally on an IBM machine. It likely will be Brisbane again. And normally the queue is not too long, so let's just see.
Okay, that's really fascinating.
It's just need to tell you because it really improved. So sometimes I waited hours in the queue, but currently it's quite quick. So and I just started, and let's see what's coming up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you still hear me? You still hear me? So it just did run, and luckily it just took 9.3 seconds.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful,
IBM
wonderful.
Brisbane, right?
Yes, IBM Brisbane, and I have a wonderful circuit which is consisting of 8 qubits, and each has one Hadamard gate and a measurement. So it's not really
amazing.
that I need fully error correction, but it did come up with something, and I'm just going to read it, and I think this is always interesting. To see what's coming when we're doing this live question. So the number it's reading number 170, so which is not making sense, but in the end, it's from Monica from Mexico City. Greetings to Monica.
Interesting.
Is there a piece of technology from history you'd love to bring back into modern life?
Wow.
Should I repeat or?
No, I think I got it right. But I think that from the technology perspective, because it's a scientific field, right? So we have always evolved our understanding, and it is always based on our previous understanding, right? That's how the science technology. Because if I talk, okay, the first microscope, right? Then now we have got super resolution microscopy, we have single photon microscopy, and things like that. So we have always been evolved, and we are very thankful the technology that people have developed, our ancestors have developed, or our previous scientists have
building
developed.
On the shoulders, yeah.
Exactly, building on the shoulders, like having a foundation. I mean, I still remember 2016 was the first time when we basically launched the first time a cloud quantum computer access with
was this only in 16? It feels like ages. Okay, yeah. Good.
Exactly, it was 2016, exactly. And then now you can see you can have access to 100 plus qubits on a cloud access. So we are always thankful to the previous technology, previous innovation. And but really answering that question, can we bring back? Is there anything we can bring back the technology or any kind of a digital? I would say curiosity, right, and having the collaboration. The collaboration is very important, right, these days, because I know we are obsessed with our profit, interest, and all those things. But those days they were like all the curiosity that if you really see the Solvay conference, by the way, I was in Belgium, and I just got a picture where on
the stairs.
Exactly. And this is exactly, I mean, everybody is a quantum scientist, everybody was Nobel laureate, right? I mean, this is but they really wanted to solve one puzzle and mystery, right? And also, I think this is a very nice thing, right? Even though there was an APR paradox, right, with Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen, it was a very healthy debate, right? Which we normally miss these days in the scientific community.
You mean constructive debates?
It's all about I think we need a free debates. We need a debate based on the fact, based on the scientific evidences, than other factors, right? You know what I mean. So I think this is what I would bring back in the scientific community about the infringement, right? A lot of malpractices these days we had. I mean, I still remember when I was in university, we have been told to go for this course of how people can change their data, manipulate their data, right? And I taught to the university people, a statistics class, yes. So I think this was not there before. I mean, people used to publish papers with a good intent that they want to solve the problem for the community, right? This is what actually I would bring back, the scientific discipline in the community.
This is cool. That's a very good point. Yeah. And Gopal, so you have as a guest also, of course, the chance to use the opportunity to contribute the question. And I'm doing this because sometimes when you're on the other side of the mic, not doing the interviews, but you're a guest on the thing, and then you wanted to talk about something, and just the stupid host didn't ask the damn question. So please go.
Yeah. I always myself ask this question, right? I mean, we are now approaching to the technology such as, we have a large language model, we have foundational model, AGI and quantum computing. These are all tools, right? Tools for betterment of human life, right? But tools without data will not help. And when I talk about the healthcare and life science perspective, people are a bit skewed, especially if you see the grants and the fundings and all. They're going towards building tools, having an innovation in the tools and the product and things. But we are kind of missing the fact that the funding for basic research is very important, right? And this is my question: is that how do you balance this particular part? In one part, we are innovating tools and all things, but we also have to. We also need our next generation to work on the basic research. That means pipetting things, transfecting cells, understanding replication, the transcription, translation, all the central dogma of life, the basic research, because this is the place which will solve the challenge that we have right now. Because if you really want to solve, okay, how do I solve antimicrobial resistance? How do I solve my cancer? How do I solve the problem of the gene therapy, like a cell therapy? Of course, we need tools like quantum computing for simulation, AGI and stuff like the large language model, but we need people who can work on this. So my question is, how do you balance?
Okay. So the question is, how do you balance, Gopal? How would you answer your question?
Okay.
No, both. It's good. So I put it in the pool, and now you.
If you really see now all the Gen Zs, they want to go for computer science, because of all the fascinating things that are happening there. But I think we really need people for chemistry, for a theoretical chemist, for organic chemist, inorganic chemist.
This is cool. Yeah, I like the idea. I'm with you. So definitely I'm with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and this brings us, in principle, already to the close of our recording. And thanks for being my guest. But I always love to have my guests the last word. So I'm saying goodbye and let you have the last word. See you soon. And I thank you before, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas. Of course. I mean, I would conclude with just a small statement, right? I mean, as I said in the beginning, biology. If you really want to understand the healthcare, you really need to understand the biology, the basic principle of biology. And if you really want to understand the mechanistic way of how disease progress, what should be the cure, you have to understand the biology. And to understand the biology, you need to have a chemistry understanding. And we know that the chemistry, the basic principle of chemistry, is governed by physics, and that too in physics, not the nuclear, like the Newtonian physics, but of course in the atomic level, it's a quantum physics, right? So to really understand the quantum physics level of interaction, such as electron bonding, forming, you really need a tool, and that tool is a quantum computing. So I'm very positive about if you really want to solve the challenging problems in healthcare and life science, quantum computing tool could be a beneficiary for the society. Thank you.
Yeah, dear friends, we are now entangled. Thanks for listening and for being part of this experiment at the intersection of quantum tech and health. If today's conversation sparked an idea, a critique, or triggered a question, please share it, and maybe your question is selected in a future episode out of the growing pool. And you know the game. If you like it, please subscribe, leave a rating, and entangle further by passing this episode to someone you think should join the gang. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep exploring the unseen with Entangled Health.